Hello, my name is Kevin Joback. I am with Molecular Knowledge Systems. Thank you very much for the opportunity to give this presentation. The title of my talk is Using Open Innovation to Design Chemical Products. My goal is to share with you our experiences as a solution provider for a number of open innovation projects, and talk about some of the lessons we've learned doing those projects. My presentation will cover 5 main topics. I'll give a brief background on molecular knowledge systems, talk about some open innovation projects and some of the clients we've worked with, talk about how we find open innovation projects, talk about the overall process from learning about a project to actually starting a project, and then finally give some observations and talk about some of the lessons we've learned, lessons for both a solution provider and suggestions for companies offering open innovation projects. As some background, Molecular Knowledge Systems started about 30 years ago. We have 2 main areas of expertise. First, we know how to estimate physical properties. Given the molecular structure of a chemical or the composition of a mixture, we use computer software to predict physical properties. Properties such as liquid density, liquid viscosity, and vapor pressure. And we can estimate properties for both pure components and mixtures. Our second area of expertise is chemical product design. Given desired values for certain physical properties, for example, looking for chemicals that have the same vapor pressures as acetonitrile, we use computer software that can design new molecular structures, as well as design mixtures that possess those physical properties. So overall, you see our main area of expertise is understanding physical property relationships and understanding how to use these relationships to design new chemical products. This is the expertise we bring to open innovation projects. For example, some of the open innovation projects we have worked on over the years include designing a new windshield washer fluid for a major automotive company, designing a food additive for a food ingredients company, designing a new paint formulation for a major coatings manufacturer, identifying new markets for helium for the Praxair Corporation, investigating the development of a new type of nail polish for a major cosmetics company, and identifying a specialty polymer to be used to prevent the dissolution of salt from a sodium chloride tailings pile for the K+S Corporation. At first, this looks like a very diverse collection of chemical products. But if you think about our areas of expertise, physical property estimation and chemical product design, I hope you can see how all these projects, from our perspective, are actually very similar. For windshield washer fluid, we are looking for a chemical product that has certain solubility characteristics, certain material compatibility, lack of flammability, the right surface properties. For new nail polish, we would like to have chemicals with the right solubility, low flammability, the right viscosity, and the right surface properties. You can see how our role in all these projects was to understand chemical properties and use this understanding to recommend innovative new chemical products. So how did we find these projects? We have found most of the open innovation projects we have worked on through the 9 Sigma online platform. We like to think of 9 Sigma as our matchmaker, connecting us as a solution provider with potential clients. 9 Sigma will post solicitations, needs, and contests for client companies. For example, here is a past request from Bic Corporation for novel materials that could be used to improve the performance of colored pencils. A client solicitation like this is the first step in a 6-step process. The solicitation contains a general description of the problem, background or historical information, and often some suggestions on areas the clients would like to see investigated. This is sometimes followed by a client presentation, an online webinar in which additional information is presented and an opportunity for questions and answers is given. If we think we have a worthy idea, we write a proposal. If our proposal intrigues the client, we often go through an interview process, followed by negotiations, and, if all goes well, we begin a project. It is this process that I wanted to use as the basis for discussing the lessons we have learned from the various open innovation projects we've worked on. Again, the first step of the process is the client solicitation. This is a written request for a proposal, typically providing a general description of the request, some background information, key success criteria, possible approaches, approaches not of interest, and preferred collaboration types. What I think is truly intriguing about open innovation is that the RFP, this client solicitation, is often the first time we have ever heard about the topic. Many of the products that are involved in the projects we have worked on are familiar from everyday interactions, but the specific problems being discussed are often new to us. This is why we find the description of a problem helpful, but what we find more helpful is the background information. Background on when the product works well, and situations when it doesn't work well. A listing of the approaches that have already been taken by the client is also extremely helpful and often sets the tone. By this I mean it tells us a bit about the kind of solutions the client is thinking about. This will be one of the main points I discuss later, but open innovation is a bit of a balance. Clients want new, different ideas, but we realize that new ideas that are so radically different from what a client is doing just may not fit in. So once again, the background and the past approaches or the recommended approaches often give us a feeling of what ideas the client might be willing to accept. For example, we always provide a chemical-based solution. So if the client is looking for a mechanical or electrical solution, we might not submit a proposal. So my recommendation for companies that are looking to use open innovation to solicit ideas is to talk more about their background, talk more about the background of the problem, and talk more about what they have done. It is very helpful for the solution providers. The next step of the process is sometimes a client presentation. This presentation may just go over the same information that is written in the RFP, but it is very nice to hear it in the client's own words, with the client's own emphasis. And also the opportunity to ask questions and get answers can be very helpful. A presentation is not always given, but our recommendation is that it should be. It's typically an open webinar with potentially competing solution providers attending, so a solution provider cannot reveal too much about their proposal idea, but it can still be very, very helpful. For example, K+S conducted a presentation on their salt tailings piles problem. When the presentation began, we already had an idea of what we were going to propose. The presentation by K+S was scheduled to last 1 hour, including questions and answers. 55 minutes into the presentation, one of the K+S engineers made a comment about the need to process all of the water that came off the tailings pile. That one comment led to an immediate question from us, whose answer totally changed the idea we proposed. So my recommendation for a company looking to do open innovation is to provide the opportunity to discuss the problem with potential solution providers. Again, this goes back to the concept that in many cases we, as solution providers, are hearing about these problems for the first time. And solution providers are often coming at the problem from a very different perspective, and thus may not fully appreciate all the parameters of the problem that must be addressed. If the solution provider's proposal is of interest to the client, Nine Sigma will often set up an interview between the client and the solution provider. This is often very helpful because clients are often anonymous. As such, proposals typically must be written in a very general manner. Interviews are a wonderful opportunity to further understand the intricacies of the problem that need to be addressed, and also an opportunity to clarify the approaches that may be of interest to both the solution provider and the client. For example, our proposal for designing a new windshield washer fluid was based on the idea that water would be obtained from the operation of the vehicle. During the interview process, we learned that the client liked our idea, even though the source of water that we proposed was not the one they were intending to use. And finally, if everything goes well, a project is initiated. Hopefully. As we said before, open innovation means clients will get new ideas, new innovative ideas, ideas that may not fit in with how they're currently doing business. This sounds wonderful. It is actually the goal of open innovation, but it also means that clients need to have a plan in place of how they are going to actually fit this new idea into their current research or business process. We have found that this can be sometimes challenging for some companies. As you can see from the kinds of projects we have worked on, we work mostly at the research and development level. Everyone in the client company's research and development groups is typically already busy working on their own projects. This is why we found it's very important to have a champion within the client company, a champion who can push to have a new project started. And I would say this is probably the biggest lesson we have learned. So in summary, open innovation is a wonderful opportunity for solution providers to share their expertise, and I believe a wonderful opportunity for client companies to gain unique expertise. It's a wonderful opportunity to establish partnerships between companies that may have never found each other otherwise. As I said before, this is what we have found to be the most exciting aspect of working on open innovation projects. We get to know customers and problems we never would have otherwise. What we have found is that for a fully successful open innovation project, it needs to be balanced. Solution providers are expected to provide novel ideas, but must be flexible enough to try and fit into their client's current business model, so these ideas can be accepted and promoted. But I also think, and again this is me speaking as a solution provider, that client companies must also be flexible. They should recognize that when they ask for new ideas, they may get some radically new ideas. And some of these good, radically new ideas may not fit into what they are currently doing. So I'd recommend that client companies, at the beginning when they are thinking of starting an open innovation project, they need to consider how they will incorporate potentially radically different ideas. If you have any questions or would just like to talk about open innovation, physical properties, or chemical products, please contact me at my email shown here, or during the conference you can find me at the Molecular Knowledge Systems virtual booth at the trade show. Thank you very much.